The Marinade.
There's no O in marinade. Let's try it one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
The Marinade.
Marinade.
Bone marinade.
That's
The Marinade.
The Marinade. With Jason Earle. Welcome to The Marinade with Jason Earle, a free-flowing conversation about the creative process with creative people. This is a bonus episode, and our guests are Chris and Joe from the band Rookie. Rookie is a kick-ass rock and roll band from Chicago whose debut self-titled record was released in March of this year. While nodding to the past, Rookie forges this totally fresh sound, and it has been on heavy rotation at my house since its release. Can't recommend the record enough, and this was such a delightful conversation. The guys were so sweet and so gracious with their time, so I'm really grateful for this opportunity. You can find all things Rookie at rookietheband.com. Check that out and also give them a follow on social media. Don't shoot the messenger's the only way. And if you struggle with doubt, he says, don't shoot the messenger's the only way to reach you. While you're over there following Rookie, also give the Marinade a follow on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We're especially active on Twitter, but we also are available on Instagram quite a bit and on Facebook. Head on over to marinadepodcast.com for more content like written pieces, concert photography, album reviews, things like that. I've also been posting some of my writing on medium.com/marinadepodcast, where I'll talk not just about the creative process, but also about politics and some other topics that I've been kind of mulling over and wanting an outlet for. So check that out if you are so inclined, and if you really like what you hear, please consider joining our Patreon community, where for just a few bucks a month, you can get access to Patreon-exclusive content, like our show Jason's Journey, where I talk about the moments that continue to shape my creative life. All right, y'all, we caught up with Rookie by phone right after their record was released, and it is my pleasure to bring you my conversation with the guys from the band Rookie. Well, listen, guys, first of all, I just want to say thank you for your time. And I also want to say thank you for your record. I've been wearing it out, and it's so much fun. It's like, makes me want to like take off my shirt and run around and dance and all of the good things and all the things that I kind of need to be doing right now. So thank you guys for that amazing piece of work.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, that's an awesome song.
Yeah, it's great, dude, and it's it's great because it takes me to a place where there's some records, rock and roll records specifically, especially in the last 15 years or so, that take me to a place that that make me feel something. I don't want to say carefree because that's not true. I don't want to minimize what you're doing. It's just like. It reminds me of the first time I heard The Strokes. It reminds me of the first time I heard Twin Peaks. And I'm not comparing you to those bands. I just mean that feeling of like, fuck yeah, this is great.
Yeah, man. You found your home. You found a new thing you like. That's such a good feeling. I'm glad that you feel that way about our stuff.
It's really wonderful, y'all.
Yeah, it's glad the energy comes across, because I think we all are feeling that way while we're trying to make it just like something that really speaks to somebody, or is something for someone to hold on to and get excited about. So it's cool that you feel that way.
So when you are making it, what does that process look like for y'all? What is the creative process collectively like for the band?
I think for this record, originally we started the creative process in mine and Max's apartment, and we tried being in complete control of the recording environment at first, and kind of chipped away at songs that way and tried to perfect it all. And then 3 songs in, we kind of switched gears and tried to get a lot more people involved with playing and doing it all live at Treehouse Records. So all the recordings, for the most part, are just kind of what you hear in the room while we were playing it, which was kind of intentional because I feel like the members kind of came together about 1.5 years ago as all 6 of us, and it was kind of just an exciting time of, meeting people that respond and can create communication like with our music. So Chris and Justin joined the band, and it was just all feeling really like everything was kind of falling into place artistically. So just trying to capture that excitement in kind of a live setting at Treehouse, I think, was kind of a big part of hopefully the feeling of you wanting to take your shirt off and running around or whatever while listening to it, if that makes sense.
It does. It makes a ton of sense. Yeah. So is that sounds like almost like you're getting in a room and you're kind of jamming and then seeing what comes out of it. Is that accurate, or are you coming as someone, or are each of you coming in with ideas and then sharing them in some way? Is there a principal songwriter for the band?
For the first album, Joe and Max did a lot of the writing, and then just sprinkled in the rest of us. But there is some jamming, I'd say, for on the back half of the creation of that record. All of us in the same room doing it live.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the way that we work best and are trying to move towards everybody contributing in the songwriting sense. We just got off tour with Cheap Trick, and we were about to continue our tour with Twin Peaks before the COVID-19 hit, but we're already playing a song that Chris wrote and sang. So we're just really trying to work in everybody in the creative process. I think it just makes for a more exciting thing between all of us.
Touring with Cheap Trick must have been a thrill. Did you learn any lessons either about the creative process or just about performing from them during that time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I learned that, they've been doing it for 40 years about, and it's just like having the opportunity to be able to open for them and sit side stage while they're playing and just have tiny conversations with them that really put into perspective that they're putting on a show every night for the enjoyment of everybody out in the crowd, and giving some, we're all right. It's kind of like their big talk back thing and surrender, and it's just like you can really see that they're not sick of it, and they're still excited about it 40 years later, and the show goes on no matter what. And I think it made me realize that we are putting on a show, and it should be exciting for everyone. But whatever you were about to say, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, just the fact that it was so. I mean, their music is all there, and that's what holds it up, and that's what's so special about them. But they also did do the whole show element, to the nines, with all the different guitars that Rick would play and the lights and different features that each artist took. And it was just nice to see how they built their show up, and that was a huge learning thing for me. I mean, I've done theater stuff, but that was just in a rock and roll setting. It was interesting to see.
Do you, the theater aspect of it, and the theatrics of the performance itself, for you all as a band, Do you take that into consideration? Do you talk about that kind of thing?
No, we don't really. I think we're really tuned into the music side of it right now, and I think that's kind of a healthy place for us to be right now.
Yeah, people
wear our
do seem to
jumpsuits,
get a
so.
kick out of the jumpsuits, yeah.
Yeah. What is the origin of the jumpsuits?
I think we all started to have that awkward conversation, like, okay, what should we wear for the show? And everyone doesn't want to deal with that, so we went to the thrift store and found these coverall jumpsuits for like $15 a piece, and my aunt drew logos on the back, so that's how we started with that. But then there was a Chicago company called Stock Manufacturing. They're a great brand in the city, but they actually just made us all new matching black jumpsuits, and it makes me feel like Luke Skywalker and Return of the Jedi. So it's pretty cool.
Well, there's a whole cool kind of vibe to just the look from afar. I haven't had the pleasure of seeing y'all play yet, but all the artwork, the album artwork, the all the merchandise you guys sell just looks so impossibly cool. Who does all that stuff, and how much do you as a band collaborate on it?
So Brandon Dietz is the name of the artist that we've pretty much worked with since he first mocked up our Chrome logo. But yeah, he kind of takes control of the look of everything. We kind of we've played music with him. He actually plays one of the guitar solos on E-Jam, which is the last track of our album. So he gets the direction of the music and all of that. But our record cover, he just did a watercolor painting in a notebook and freehand drew the logo and showed it to us just to start flowing some ideas out. And we were kind of just like, well, that kind of looks like the record right there. So he kind of just nails it with everything he does. And at Bloodshot kind of took his, I don't know if you saw, there's a coronavirus version of our album art where we're all spread around instead of all huddled together in the middle.
No, I haven't seen that. That's great. What kinds of things outside for either of you? What kinds of things, you mentioned theater earlier, outside of music, inspire you creatively?
Well, for me personally, I with that theater stuff, I'm really inspired by Irish Dance. I work with the Trinity Irish Dance Company, and I mean, to see them do some of the stuff they do, I mean, it sounds like if Jimmy Page was a tap dancer at times, and I'm just like, this is the coolest thing in the world. And
wow.
With that said, there's a lot of folk music that I'm just so attached to because of that as well. Just working with different artists that have shown me so much, like Brendan O'Shea and Mike Kirkpatrick. I mean, just incredible work that they've done. So that's one thing for me. And what about you, Joe?
I have a 9-to-5 job at a garden center, so I spend my summers watering flowers and doing things like that. So it's kind of, I don't know if that inspires me musically, but kind of just interesting, being in that setting, seeing things grow naturally, all that kind of hippie stuff. Really, it's fun for me.
I can relate to that, man.
Amen, dude. That's really nice. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and there's something so zen-like about it.
Yeah.
And
you
that's
gotta steal your heart somehow.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's been a kind of quarantine silver lining for us at my house, is that we're fortunate enough to have a pretty big yard, and we both work pretty hard, my partner Chris and I, and so we tend to neglect the yard. Not neglect, I always keep it up, but it's never reached its full potential, and now I feel like there's no reason not to. So we've been planting flowers, and we've been making sure our trees are perfectly trimmed, and it's hard work, but it's incredibly satisfying work.
Yeah, it kind of frees your mind. While you're doing all that kind of yard work and stuff, it helps you think about how you can be doing that in other aspects of your life or whatever, for me at least. So it's cool.
what the sequencing of the record, I think, is pretty ideal. Now, granted, I didn't see what drafts you had before, but the sequencing makes a ton of sense. You come out real strong with those first three. The whole record is really powerful. It ends, I think, in a perfect note. How much, as a band, do you discuss that process of sequencing, and what does that look like?
Seems like it's definitely parts of the record is an extension of what we do live. I mean, so maybe that stems from just one set list that we really liked, and that's why Miss United States and UJam are paired together and overlapped, because we do that live. What else, Joe?
I mean, yeah. When you asked that question, I was kind of thinking we did intend to put a lot of thought into the track flow and how everything worked, and then when it was all said and done, it kind of ended up just looking like our original set list we would always play as a band anyways, how things flow into each other and the overall order. So again, it kind of just happened that way. I think we did intend for it to, start big and then flow into these, end up with Elementary Blues on the first side and all that, but it kind of just happened that way from playing live, like you said, Chris.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that Fake Grass Elementary Blues too, yeah. Those always are back-to-back, it seems.
Is that because of the flow of the show? Like, because of the flow of the performance?
Yeah.
It just makes sense
they just sound
in that
nice
way.
Together, and one starts on C, one ends on C, and just like bam.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's fun. The twice now we've talked about Twin Peaks. I mentioned them and you guys mentioned them. You were going to go on tour with them. The scene there in Chicago seems like there's now granted, of course, Chicago is a legendary music town, but it seems like there's a lot of cool rock and roll coming out of there now. Are y'all all working together quite a bit? Are you what is that like? I'm way down in Florida. What does that scene look like up there?
From my perspective, it seems like there's a lot more coming out of Chicago than just, rock and roll. There is a number of really good rock and roll bands, but it seems like everyone's kind of on their own, like, creative journey with their respective, bands or musicians, but everybody totally does support each other, and I've seen a lot of support grow for all the venues that host all the Chicago bands during this pandemic. Like, everyone's trying to raise money for all the venues that have been hit. So there is just a strong sense of, like, community in the sense that, we're all tied in this together and we all got to help each other out. But there's no real, like, competition that I've ever felt, which is kind of cool.
That's
for
great.
Such a big city.
That's wonderful, man.
Yeah.
That's really good to hear. I think that's been my experience here too. The scene here, though, is I'm in Orlando, is much more like folk Americana kind of driven. That's the music that people go to see around here, and there's a really robust group of folks that are making great music, and everybody's so cool and so supportive of each other. And it's really quite the unifying force, and I think that's especially true, or we're seeing that especially with the current crisis, is that everybody's organizing some kind of virtual festival or some way to get people, in front of fans, so they can at least get something in their virtual tip jar,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we're the problem that Rookie kind of has with that is being in the 6-piece band, and it's not really a good idea for all of us to get in the same room, but it's just like everyone else, just trying to adapt. And it is nice to see. It's nice to see my friend chugging beers on Instagram, TJ, for Christmas Without Cancer and stuff like that. Like, you're seeing a lot of
people adapting.
Yeah, and a lot of charity. Fantastic.
Well, yeah, and I wonder, like, how, if you've had time to process this, and if it's too heavy, then please just tell me, we won't even talk about it. But, like, have you processed what the future looks like for bands specifically, and, like, what you guys just released this amazing record at at a time you couldn't have possibly predicted. And obviously you're missing out on your tour and all that kind of stuff. So like, have you had time to process that and think about what the future looks like for y'all? And again, if it's too much, then we don't have to talk about it.
No, I mean, I think it's definitely hit us all hard, being the timing that we put out the record. But I also don't kind of like it's where there's a will, there's a way, and I don't think music's going to stop because of this. And I'm still going to write songs, and we're going to perform eventually, hopefully. Not thinking that far ahead yet, but
right.
I'm not letting it get me down too hard. We're just taking the necessary precautions to stay healthy, and this too shall pass.
Right.
Yeah, totally, man. And sometimes thinking about it seems like you're staring into the abyss, and I worry about the older people are immunocompromised a lot more than myself, but
absolutely.
Yeah, I think we'll find a way. We might put in the budget to get a little 2-track interface for everyone. Start recording some demos to clicks or something, but we'll find a way out of it.
Yeah, I think it's been exciting. Like I said, that it's been nice to see people come together the way they have, and I love what you guys just said because there will be some answers, and we may not have them right now, but we'll figure this out and we'll get through this, and there will be some answers.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about what inspires you, but what are y'all consuming at the moment? So that's what we like to end on is like, what are you watching? What are you listening to? And this is such a fascinating time to have these conversations because everybody's at home. But like, what art is inspiring you? A film you've seen, maybe even a painting that moved you, anything artistic that you're really fired up about right now?
This might be an obvious one, but for me, I have always been a big I think we all have been big John Prine fans, so that one kind of hit hard, but it made me kind of dive back into a lot of his early records, and I'm just kind of inspired by his outlook on life and what he had to say about it. And I don't know, it's been encouraging and also very inspiring just to, be graced with all of his music and things like that. So that's kind of what I've been diving into artistically right now. I don't know. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I'm the same kind of way. I'm into my, there's not a lot of time in my regular life to dig into my record collection, but like just revisiting a lot of classics. CCR and the Elevators are just on repeat over here, and now I'm starting to touch on Weezer's first two, but I gotta get my finger back on the pulse of what's going on during this time. I do take fault for that. I'm sorry. There's loads of it coming out right now, and we can probably expect a lot of bedroom pop in the near future.
Yeah, I certainly don't think you owe anybody an apology for that.
Well, I just don't want to seem like I'm stuck in a box, but I kind of am.
But you're stuck in a hell of a box.
CCR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're in the CCR box, it's all right.
Yeah. It just took me, man. I didn't even see it coming.
Yeah. This morning, when I was doing a little bit of more research for this conversation, I was listening to your record, and I read the piece, I think it was published yesterday in Rolling Stone about John Prine. Did you read that one?
No.
I haven't got to it, but I've seen it posted a lot. I have to sit down and read the whole thing, but I hear it's really great.
It's so beautiful. And you mentioned his outlook on life. And like that, all day I've been trying to carry that with me. It just how much there's a quote in there where his wife Fiona describes him as just not having too much of an ego. And I don't know if that's the direct quote, but that's the gist of it, is like he never had that much of an ego. And to think about someone who is such a monster writer and just incredible writer to have accomplished everything he accomplished and never really took himself seriously. And the context that she mentions it in is that he loved Paris, even though he felt like Paris never embraced him. And that was like part of what he loved about them. And he was always out of his ego about that. I think that's such a wonderful outlook.
Oh, totally. Man. I actually there's this old school Italian restaurant that just closed, and I think it opened in the '60s. It was called Sabatino's on Irving and Kildare or something like that. And I was sitting there with my wife, and John and his wife sat down right next to us, and he raised his eyebrows when he saw that I noticed him, probably because of my long hair and just being probably snipped the musician on me. But I went the next day and saw him at the Chicago Theater, man, and that was his final performance here. I cannot believe I caught it. I was in the back row. Our backs were to the wall. Wow. He got me. So all the way from that stage to the very last chair, man, he had us all in bits.
Oh, my God. Well, that's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for this. I really appreciate it. I love the record. It's wonderful. And I hope all this clears up soon. So, you can make it down here hopefully one of these days. I'd love to see these songs live. And just thank you so much for your time. And thank you for sharing your art.
Sure, man. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Dude, thank you so much.